Raro with Jetstar.
Yeah.
And got told the plane is too heavy, so there's 30 people who can't hop on.
What?
Oh, poor Jetstar. I feel sorry.
Yeah, I did kind of say that was their first problem, but I don't think they want to be hearing this right now.
Well, I booked to come down to the leadership summit, right?
Yeah.
Finally. And they asked me how heavy the dog was, how long the dog was, and how tall the dog was.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know.
The dog's allowed in the cabin, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
30
Oh,
kilos. Well, 29 kilos.
Is this
I'm
whether
so
they give him a
excited.
seat or not?
No, they won't give her a seat. She has to go into the seat in front. I don't know if she's going to fit, but hey, we'll see.
They might give you like the aisles, like the the emergency exits row or something.
Apparently, I'm not allowed on them.
Oh,
yeah,
blind people can't.
Maybe they'll give you the front row.
I doubt it. I'd have to pay them more, wouldn't I?
I don't know. No idea.
Never mind.
I can't wait to meet the dog, Sally. You'll have to let the dog be not working for a little bit. When we all
I usually do. Yeah. I'm also thinking about coming down for was it Angela from Orion was telling me yesterday about something at Parliament.
Yeah, that's
yep.
When is that?
24th or 25th. But it's in the evening. I was thinking about that. I'd have to self-fund it.
Yeah, I think it's more a commercial vendor people talking to politicians thing. So.
Oh, vendors. Okay, then maybe I don't want to go.
Yeah, it's lesser.
Yeah, maybe.
Lesser health system, more of a digital health association thing.
I was more happy to try and influence the health system, not the vendor.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, so maybe you want to meet with politicians. I suppose that's your business.
Not really. Actually, it was just because Angela said it would be interesting.
Very good.
And I was like, maybe.
Nice. So, interestingly, I want your opinion on this, Sally. So we've been, Mary and I have been doing some work. We've obviously moved over to the the new eHealth forum. I think our thing looks quite nice there.
I haven't even looked.
Oh, you need to look because it looks different. It doesn't look like a forum. It just looks like a scrolly list.
Oh, good.
It may not be very accessible. Is the only thing.
It's not. eHealth's not. I've already told him that. I've already given him.
So he needs to fix it. He needs to fix the accessibility.
He does, but he said I can make the font bigger, and I said, well, large is only 12 points, so what's the point?
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it was. I just get sick of it. There's just so much traffic.
There's lots less than you think. I think you end up automatically, if you reply, you're automatically subscribed to the topic.
Maybe. So, I don't talk much on there. I just, if it comes to my email, I answer it. If it doesn't, I won't.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think there'll be more of the digest stuff like what we were doing on the Yammer stuff anyway. So
I quite like the Yammer one. It made me look because it was one of the only ones that wasn't on the damn eHealth forum thing that I hate.
Well, it was. We thought it was a better choice because people wouldn't have to log in again. Do you know what I mean? Like, have to have another login. So that's why we did it. And we know that there's a lot of cross conversation. So some of the things that we post up might be useful to a bunch of other people in different conversations. So we've kind of moved on there. And also the last thing was, we think a bunch of people might not have been commenting on our one because it was the Ministry of Health, if that makes sense. And now it's not really owned by us as such.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I like it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not. More. Well, no, I like it because I don't know. It's a different group. It's not one that has governance structure, all of that kind of stuff, and a lot of the stuff really does.
It's exactly the same group, just in a different place.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mind the governance and structure, but they usually can't. Some of them can't organise their way out of a paper bag.
Oh, well,
probably ones that I mean,
we won't name names. We won't name names.
I shouldn't talk. I'm on the executive one of them. But anyway, and I do stuff for St. John's, so I really shouldn't talk.
No, but that's right. Very good. So yeah, so we're now over there. We've put up a post which is, please tell us about yourself as an innovator and what you do. And Mary and I were talking about this some more this afternoon. Hey Ben, how you doing? And what we want to be able to show up there is people that have kind of told us that they're an innovator. So that's number one. Second one is then like we've got a list of projects we know people are working on. So
that would be cool.
Not research, but kind of health system innovation-y type things that we know about. And then the third thing, I scraped the HRC website for all of the stuff that they've ever funded since from 2010 to 2022, 2,300 and something items, and I'm busy turning that into a Power BI dashboard so that it can be analyzed. So we want to
I haven't played with Power BI.
Well, we want to put all of those things on that website because we figure, there's people need to kind of find a place where all of those things are and then be able to go and have a look at them. So we'll look to do that. I think that'll be handy.
Yesterday too, we were actually talking about it, and we had an exec meeting for the nursing informatics and midwifery informatics yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were talking about exactly that. But I mean, I suggested a page that was kind of like a dashboard, but the people in that group aren't really that keen on that kind of thing. So I like the idea.
Not enough nerds in that group, Sally.
That's actually an interesting. That's actually an interesting point.
Very good. Hey, where are you today, Ben? That looks like a different background for you.
Ben's quiet.
He's in Christchurch. You're in Christchurch.
I've just arrived in Christchurch. Yeah. So.
It looks nice.
Are you feeling a bit better?
Probably was a bit. Probably was a little bit rope. Probably was a bit ropey as to whether I should come down, but that's all right. It's better than yesterday anyway. That's a start, and it's not COVID, so
very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I led Martin Tando, and he was still happy to meet up with me at the ED. So yeah.
So he could admit you if you were turned out to be too sick.
Well, exactly. I figured that's probably the best place to be going. It's like, well, if something actually is seriously wrong, then I've got.
I was going to say I saw Martin on Monday afternoon and he wasn't working, so he got a beer and I got a glass of red wine.
Good. That's
for our meeting. So I was like, these are the kinds of meetings I should have more often. Yeah.
I think he has offered to do a quick drink afterwards, so I might. We said we got time. It'd be nice. Be nice to sit down and have a yarn with him. But
shame the Ducks Deluxe. Is the Ducks Deluxe back open? I used to love that pub when I was a student.
I haven't heard for a while.
I know.
Don't know if it is. The problem is,
I did my postgrad down there.
It was such a great place, and it was also like one of the first really good vegetarian restaurants as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Too, and good craft beers. But the problem is, like now that I think we went into the Duckstein on Rickerton since then, and I think it's just because of the fact that and because craft beer is also a thing now, like actually their beers do not stack up at all well. And it's posh and it's expensive, and it's like it's cutting Mirabelle Housewives.
I liked the old one. If they had the old one come back, that would be good. But the one in Rickerton.
Having Export Gold, Lion Red, Lion Brown, and Steinlager on tap used to be like that's a fancy bar. Like all of those beers on tap. Wow.
My favourite was the alcoholic ginger beer.
The ginger Tom.
The ginger Tom. Ginger Tom. That was my favourite.
Yep. And that bitter was always solid too. Like it was a good. That was a good. It's like the Emerson's Bookbinder. It's a good sessionable under 4% beer, but something that's actually got some flavour. But
yeah, I used to drink a lot of Bookbinder, and then I came back to the country and realised that it had been bought by Lion Breweries or DB or.
Lion
Breweries, and it didn't taste as good to me because I used to buy it at Regional Wines and Spirits bin around the basin because that was the only place you could get it in Wellington at the time, and then they were just under come out in the bottles in Wellington, and so it's kind of late 2000s, and it was real good. Left the country for 4 years, came back, and someone Lion had ruined it basically. It's terrible stuff.
Well, the Lion factory is now student accommodation.
Oh, the one in Auckland, Newmarket,
Right. Cool.
It's now student accommodation apparently. They bowled it a couple of years
sorry. I thought they might have just put like the beds amongst the big
that's what
steel.
That would have been quite funny.
Actually, Sally, now that you mentioned that was always the best thing about the Ducks Deluxe is the fact that, of course, the Art Centre used to be the old uni, so it's like they turned the Student Union building into a brewery. It's like I
didn't think of that actually. I was actually down the road at the Otago Nursing School at the time because I was doing ED postgrad and endorsed an ED, and they were the only ones who did it.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Very good. Very good. Mary, have you seen anything on the internet about technology in the last couple of weeks?
I have seen many things. So what one I was talking to you about earlier was there's been a sensor which identifies misfolded protein biomarkers in the blood, which offers a chance to detect Alzheimer's disease before any symptoms occur. So apparently, the disease is symptom-free for the first 15 to 20 years before the first clinical symptoms emerge. And so they're using a immuno-infrared sensor, which was developed by a university in Germany. So what does it say? Identifies signs in the blood up to 17 years before the first clinical symptoms.
Wow.
And it detects the misfolding of the protein biomarker amyloid beta.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Okay, that's a bit too complex, but hey.
I know. I'm reading this like I know what I'm talking about.
That's some deep
so,
technology, that is. Yeah.
So yeah, as the disease progresses, this misfold causes characteristics deposits in the brain, so-called plaques. So yeah, their goal is to determine the risk of developing the Alzheimer's dementia at a later stage, so that they can get onto therapies earlier, which I thought was quite cool.
Very good. Yeah. So that's actually what Matthias is going to do. So it's all
Really?
protein folding and protein identification. So Matthias is going this weekend, next weekend.
This weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. Matthias is off to America to start his scholarship, and he's got into it's University of Washington, and he's going to do basically protein identification for drug use and stuff like that. So machine learning-y type stuff, which he was doing with us. So he's off to do that. So that's good news for him. Bad news for us, because we'll have to go and find some more willing candidates at Summer of Tech. Mary will do, I'm sure, another awesome job at finding us some summer interns.
He's voluntolding you.
Yeah, some bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, Mary and I tell you what, Mary and Eileen are very, very good at selecting, famous last words, obviously, are very, very good at selecting summer intern candidates.
Well,
so
our last 3 years have been pretty successful, so hopefully.
Yeah, 100. Yeah,
Awesome.
you're batting 100 right now. So yeah, it's good.
We've got a summer studentship thing, but I don't work in the computing department, so it's hard to get them.
Oh, so yeah, so we pay our summer interns, so we pay them the living wage, and they go from mid to late November through to the end of January. So
nice. If you need a supervisor, ring me.
Oh, we do the supervision, so it's good.
Oh,
and we
yeah.
Introduce them to data and digital, and they're not students. They're with us. They're paid employees. Well, temporary employees or paid employees with us.
I keep thinking of them as students, but I thought of an idea. You know how last time you were talking about getting things written up? If I come and play with you next year, I'll write some things up.
Very good. That sounds good.
Would that? But I do have to write my proposal.
Yep.
And I do have to write, actually get my ass into gear and.
Well, we're making a bit of progress on a few things. So Ben's still making some progress on the eye care faster stuff, but we've got lots of stuff on the boil. I think is part of the problem. Trying to do too much at once, aren't we, Ben? Basically.
Yep. But Ben
Always.
and Mary has been definitely helping
and Mary.
with that. Yeah. We've been I think making some good progress on that. And I don't know if you've seen, I just dropped a message in too that we've the abortion reform works just got the go ahead, and very productive meeting with on the rheumatic fever, the work that's happening across the whole program. So that was meeting up with the co-design teams, and I think there's some really cool opportunities. And I think actually the interesting thing on that, John, is when you were mentioning the other day about the innovation itself not always necessarily being the, because this is something that's fun. I mean, in terms of the it keeps getting changed. Was the register, but of course now we're talking about a care and coordination system. That's all funded out of baseline. So technically it's a BAU thing, but actually the innovation is actually more the process of what they're going through to develop this. And it's like actually taking a proper co-design approach and, or taking a proper design-led approach on the whole thing, really, and managing to hold them sway to that. And and the fact, in this case, they've got 3 teams working directly with patients whānau in those communities, which I think that's something that can't be overlooked. They've taken 2 years to establish those relationships, as opposed to the good old government come in, consult one and done, and then wonder why it doesn't work. I think, yeah, and I mean, they reiterate that again today. Like, I was just saying, you just need to remember that it takes time to build these things. But of course, it's showing that the payoff in the long run is, yeah. And of course, you can go back to them, and you can keep working with them, and it's like, yeah, and as I've said, there's two things. It's how you build it. It's how you build a relationship, and then it's how you maintain it.
Exactly.
So there's two considerations there. But yeah.
Yeah.
Kia ora, Sean.
Cool.
Kia ora, Sean. How you doing?
Hi, Sean.
Good, thank you.
Don't think I know you.
Do you wanna introduce yourself? I don't know if we've met.
No, I don't think I met anyone. That's the first time I'm calling into this.
Cool.
I forwarded this forum from one of my ex-colleagues, Justin, who works at Te Tokotomai. But we just work in a different part of the organization now.
Very good.
So my name is Sean. I am a program manager within our quality, safety, and risk. And Justin mentioned that this was a place where innovation was being discussed, and I just had some time today, so I just thought I'd dial in and hear what's going on.
Very good. Very good. Well, it's welcome, Sean.
Thank you.
Pretty much, it's a bit of an open forum, and we tend to talk about things we see on the internet or things we're working on, and it's kind of just you can sit and listen, or you can join in, or you can offer us your pearls of wisdom. You can choose, but it's kind of, we're here every second Thursday, basically talking about either stuff we're doing or things we think are interesting. And I see Sujan's turned up, and so I might end up repeating myself from earlier, but something that we're really interested in is how we start to put together call it a list of all of the things people are working on. So innovative type things. So
sure.
What about a list of all the ideas people have as well? Because I have so many ideas and I can never get to them.
Well, so I think the key point in all of this is if we can put it somewhere that people can access it, you'll be able to add your ideas to the list.
And then maybe someone will want to help.
There you go.
Because I don't have time.
Sujan might want to help.
I'm looking for problems. The problem with us is we never encounter problems. So I mean I'm part of ESR, and generally the way project comes to us is either we are contracted from MOH or any other organization, but not like Auckland DHB or clinicians who are actually every day seeing the problems. So I want to bring in those problems into ESR so that our scientists can provide some solutions, from data science to healthcare and many other. And I am the innovation program manager, one of the innovation program manager in there. So I think our scientists are much more capable. Many of them are just doing dashboards some of the times, and they are bored in doing that.
Or do any of them want to do computer vision stuff? Because I have a project, I have an idea.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So those are the things, and I don't know what those ideas are, and that's what I was discussing with John. That are they big enough problems that our scientists can get involved and give some solutions, provide some solutions into those problems.
So Sujan, I said at the start, we're busy, so we've moved over to the hins.org.nz, so forum.hins.org.nz, and we've kind of replicated what we had in the Yammer on that. It's free to join. It's got the standards people there, medtech cores over there now, and
the
it's
nurses and midwives.
Nurses and midwives, allied health people, Kiln, lots of people, lots of forums on there anyway. So we're on there, and we're looking to try, and Mary and I were talking about this earlier, we're trying to get a pin at the top of our posts, which will have a link to me having web scraped all of HRC's projects, so you'll be able to look at them, and then the list that we've started creating to maintain of all of the projects we know people are running or innovations people are working on, and then the last one is kind of people we know in the sector doing stuff. So if you want a problem to help work on, or you want to find some people that might help with the problem you want to work on, or you want to see what research is going on, because that might then lead to solving some problems, we figure that might be a useful thing to have, and we'll try and maintain it the best we can and add stuff as we can. So it's always
cool idea,
best
John.
efforts thing, because people tell us that that's the biggest problem is I don't know what people are doing, or I don't know who to talk to. And so kind of, if we can do that in a way which is useful, we think that might be a good spend of our time to do some more of that. So, because we know lots of people now, so that's good. Interestingly, I was going to say about my trip to Christchurch on Monday. So I went to Christchurch on Monday. I saw Mike Sheedy, and here's something for you, Sean, because apparently we don't do this here. Except in a couple of places, they've got a laser inscriber. So it's a box with a orange lid, and all of their scopes and reusable surgical instruments that they own, they laser inscribe a 2D barcode on them so that they can track and trace them for their entire life. So obviously it's not a sticker that you put on it, so you can still put it through the sterile supply thing. And they've built their own app to manage all of those things. So now they can see which scopes last the longest, which need like repair. And it's real funny because they're kind of like, oh yeah, we do this thing over here in the corner. And then he was trying to hustle me out of the room onto the next thing that was exciting. I was like, wait, you've got a laser inscriber. He's like, yeah, it's them. And I think Wellington are the only two hospitals in the country with a laser inscriber. So that was quite cool. And so basically you can scan it through the process, the CSSD process, and then through the maintenance process, so that you can kind of keep track of all of those stainless steel assets. So that was real good. Ireland, I was telling him the story of Ireland because when I was there, they just put in a national system for managing track and trace on all of the scopes because they had problems where they hadn't cleaned them properly. And so
I remember that news story.
They had a massive inquiry into it, and then they had to put in these systems in order to basically do what Canterbury seems to be doing. So,
but I reckon they need to inscribe more than just the scopes and stuff. I mean, there's so much equipment that gets borrowed and never bought back.
100%. He said where it stays on site in a kind of a closed loop with theatres isn't a problem, but he said so much stuff goes off site, and like it's easy to lose, or it goes into someone else's circulation or something.
And infection
or they get
control
as well. Yeah.
I mean, ex-infection control nurse, specialist. It's like, ugh.
100%. So that was a really interesting conversation with him, and then he showed me kind of their jewel in the crown, which Sujan, this might be kind of interesting for you guys. They've built a pipeline for turning CT scans into 3D models. So they've got a bunch of code that they manage for doing that, and then they do 3D printing. But the problem they've got is, while they've got a good pipeline, Auckland DHB does stuff too, Sean. They've got a good pipeline, but when people ask them to print it, they almost need like networked printers in places. And they also said they're doing work on wanting to do work on how they do higher resolution, better kind of quality, both prints and modeling, and take more effort out of them, scan to modeling. So obviously you have a scan, 3D scan, you then have to build a point cloud for the 3D model, and it's that scan to point cloud kind of process that they're trying to optimize at the moment. Then they've got a quality management system around it. But and the key use case they've got at the moment is eye orbit fractures. So the use case, so the use case is basically if you get your eye orbit broken, your eye can sag down, give you double vision, which doesn't get resolved, and then they fixed that by putting plates in the floor of the eye socket, and they were flat plates, and so they don't fit very well, and there's a risk that you cut the optic nerve when you push it in. So they've now made, so because they've 3D print the orbit, they can put the plate into the 3D printed plastic and shape the plate so that it fits into the shape of the orbit. So he's so proud of that, and so he's kind of like showing me this. But I was already wowed by the laser etcher in the previous room. So we talked about that, which was real interesting. And they're also they're doing a thing for Starship at the moment, which is printing a paediatric heart for someone that needs heart surgery, a child that needs heart surgery, so that they can do kind of surgical planning and stuff. So that's the use case I was familiar with already. And then they also are doing like one step removed. So you take a CT scan, build a mold from that scan, and then you use that in a hydraulic press to shape metal. So
like
they were
hip
using that
replacements and stuff.
for skulls, actually. So they were doing skull cap ones, which were really cool.
Man.
So
that would be cool, because I remember
to,
a patient who needed one of them, and
yeah, so that was really cool. So we looked at that, and then doing, what else did he show me? Oh, he showed me I was kind of going through this rabbit warren of rooms in the basement of the hospital, as basements of hospitals tend to be. And so we went into the last bit, and there was he's got a young guy doing programming, and they've been running something called Aeroscout. So, you know, everyone here, if you've been in a hospital, the problem of locating equipment is the bane of everybody's life. And so they've been using a product called Aeroscout, which is like a little thing that you tape to the wheelchair or tape to the whatever.
So it's like an NFC or
Wi-Fi
RFID.
Yeah, it's a Wi-Fi one. And I said, oh, Aeroscout, who makes that? And he went, Stanley Healthcare. And I was like, never heard of Stanley Healthcare. Turns out, you know, the tool brand Stanley.
Oh, really?
It was them out of the US, because they've got some random medical branch, which they've sold now to like Securitas, which is like a security company. And I'm like, what the hell do they know about healthcare anyway? So they've got these little boxy things that you put on, and then they showed me what the application looked like. It was terrible. Like, so they've gone to all of this, you know, effort of putting tags on like the items around the hospital, and the software is just horrendous. And he said, so we've negotiated with the company to try and build their software better, because it's so crap. I was like, oh my God.
There's some software called Wayfinder, which it's mostly NFC, but they have some really good software for doing that for the blind.
Oh, right. Because this is off the Wi-Fi tags, and they've got the Wi-Fi APs in the ceiling. Anyway, so I saw all of that. Met this young guy that's in the sitting in one of their like basement offices, writing code, and he's got this idea of it's like Uber for wheelchairs in the hospital. So finding the closest wheelchair for a person that needs the closest wheelchair to be able to get it to them as quickly as possible. So I thought that was quite a good idea from a young guy, never worked in healthcare before, never kind of had any idea that he'd be working in the basement of a hospital, off building an Uber for wheelchairs, which
is quite cool.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's a bit like Good Sam.
Yeah, that was such a long conversation, because I thought the interesting thing for me was, in all of that finding things in a hospital, Justin's kind of comments about, you know, wayfinding in a hospital came to mind, because there's the map layer. So you know how you make plans of a hospital. So someone has plans of a hospital, and then you need to lay it on the GPS coordinates. So, you know, is that plan in the right place in the world? And then you can use things on top of it. So there's actually a couple of really complicated things that you need to do in order to just get out of the gate. And I'd looked towards the end of last year about talking to Google about whether we could get Google to do indoor mapping of the hospitals in New Zealand. Turns out they've disbanded all of that work.
What?
So they're not really doing indoor mapping anymore. Because the team no longer exists. So I basically got this team no longer exists. We're no longer doing this work. And I'm like, oh God, that sucks. But I wondered, with the latest iPhone, I think it's now got the LIDAR scanner thing.
Ooh, yes.
The latest iPad.
No, the iPhone does.
And I was thinking that would be a cool thing to do for the health system. So, you know,
Richard Dean is so keen with LIDAR technology in forensics. Yes, I think we should talk to him.
I've got a little project. I've got a project going. We're looking for funding on.
He has ideas of not even taking videos, just taking pictures and tying them together to make like 3D vision and things. And he keeps talking about it all the time.
So maybe we should set up a meeting and have a conversation about it, because I think there's something between Justin's wayfinding thing in a hospital. There's something for you, Sally, which is the accessibility part of it.
But there's also a project that we want to put to Plunkett about LIDAR.
Oh, yeah.
For measuring kids well in a lockdown, to see if their kids are on the right trajectory. We've still got our grant in, and we're waiting for funding.
Okay. Well, so I think there's definitely a objects thing separate to a people thing.
Yeah.
I wonder, Sujan, if we have a chat with Richard about whether there's a chance to do that somewhere in Wellington, somewhere proximate, like Kenepuru Hospital. Like, I'm in the first instance where we don't even know whether we can do something. I'm all for proximate and ease, because trying to find somewhere to do something's hard enough. And I know the manager that runs Kenepuru Hospital. So if we wanted to,
where is that? I've never heard of it. Oh yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So up on the hill, above ESR, basically. So maybe we could have a go at whether we could do some 3D model generation of Kenepuru Hospital, and then figure out whether you could do like a virtual tour or something.
I'd love to do the accessibility of it as well. Photo to accessibility, or a VR type thing to accessibility.
Okay. Well, there you go, Sujan. Let's start with that as an idea.
Cool. Yeah.
Because we could connect it, like I said, you can connect it to the business problem of wayfinding people around a hospital, i.e., where am I, where am I going, and then you've got the problem of where is the device that I'm looking for in the hospital. So that's the second problem I can imagine. The third problem is probably like around just managing the building, because they talk about digital
flow
twins
of people,
of buildings and stuff like that, and maybe that's a use case.
But flow of people as well, and you can't get that way because there's no lift.
Yeah. Like flow around the building. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben's had to disappear. He's obviously still not feeling that well.
Bye, Ben. Oh, I was filling in your form. Whoops, I need to go back to that and do that at the same time.
Very good. So in the morning I was with him, and then I went and saw Lui at University of Canterbury. Well, I've never been to the University of Canterbury before. It's big, like big engineering school, man, real big. Like, and I hadn't kind of realized it all. You know what I mean? I obviously knew there was a university there.
Okay.
So I went and saw Lui there. He's got money out of the National Science Challenge to do stuff in diabetes. So he's busy, and their team are looking at that closed loop diabetes management. So continuous glucose monitoring and insulin pump stuff. And so their model is make those things as dumb as possible and put the intelligence either on the device that they're connected to or in the cloud, one of the two things. So try and remove the cost and effort in the devices and move them into software. So that was quite interesting. But I've been emailing backwards and forwards with Helen Lunt today. I don't know if people know her. She's a diabetes doctor in Christchurch, who I know. And she was saying there's quite a bit of evidence that even if we were to do better continuous glucose monitoring in hospital, we would improve outcomes. Because apparently the length of stay for people with diabetes in hospital is often twice as long as people without diabetes. Now, question about whether you can make a material difference, but
it's the pharmac funding and stuff. Because I've got friends who've tried to make their own constant glucose monitoring off of AliExpress.
Yeah.
and their phones and things.
But the hospital itself is different to the community. So I was thinking, even if you gave someone that while they were in hospital, would the hospital see enough benefit from having that in the hospital that it would justify continuous glucose monitoring? And from Helen's perspective, it probably would. And so they've got it in ICU in Christchurch and have for a long time, have had for a long time. But she said we've not really looked at the wards before. So.
But ED would be a good place. The amount of insulin infusions I started when I was in ED was huge. And we used to just take the blood sugar with a finger pricker and then go and dock it. But then someone would take it off the dock and it'd run out of battery.
Yeah, I don't know, Sean, how the glucose monitoring goes in your
I don't know how it does now. That was a while back. That was about 8 years ago.
Probably still the same, Sally.
Sorry, not something I'm too familiar with myself on
that's right.
Space, yeah.
So what are you working on, Sean? Are you working on anything you want to share with the group, or feel free to say no?
No, nothing specific. I have 3 different teams, and some of the work that I do, we are thinking about bringing some of the processes into the 21st century. So, I'm just battling trying to move away from just paper at the moment. So, my needs are quite basic at this moment.
Sometimes it's funny. Robin Whittaker calls her program at Waitemata Leapfrog, because effectively it's kind of like, we could make our paper things digital, but the reality is it's probably still going to be a bit crap. What's the thing after that? Do you know what I mean? Should we just be going to the next thing after that?
I never knew that was behind it. I knew it was Leapfrog, but I didn't know the story.
You got it. Yeah. Why would we just make it 1 step better when you can make it 5 steps better? Yeah.
I'll have to hassle her now.
There you go. I think that's pretty reasonable term. So yeah, so that was good. So talked to Lui, and it's real interesting because they're really focused on that continuous glucose monitoring part of the world, which is obviously people with type 1 diabetes, and then people with quite bad type 2 diabetes. You end up in that space, and I had to kind of introduce them to the fact that most people aren't born with diabetes and they slowly get worse over time. So what are we doing down in that prevention end? Because it kind of felt very much like how do we fix people that have bad diabetes, not how do we stop people getting bad diabetes? So it feels like the first time I've been involved in a research project, Sally, where I'm involved at the start of the research project rather than like where the researchers turn up and they go, hey, we've done all this research. Like Sujan's kind of
so
point,
cool, though.
We've done all this research, and I'm like, yeah, you missed that obvious thing down the road. So yeah.
I'm all for design from the beginning.
Design. Yeah.
All from designing from the ground up.
Yeah, fair enough. Me too.
There's an interesting research that is emerging in the insulin or the diabetes world, is that the one of the major reasons is the frequency of eating that people are doing at this in the new generation. So and the amount of starch in all forms of starch that people are eating, especially the processed starch. And you or any person who is close to diabetes, if they just cut the number of meals that they are taking, like the snacks and the meals and in between brunches, and that the diabetes scale just goes down dramatically. And now it wasn't as accepted by clinicians before, but now I think many clinicians are on board, and they're like, now instead of prescribing insulin, they're prescribing less eating of starch and processed starch, and
it's kind of like a green prescription.
Yeah, less frequency of mealing. So some people even suggest that if you don't have any other diseases associated or any other coexisting diseases with diabetes, just by cutting down the meal from 3 to 2 to 2 to 1, it's just your diabetes dramatically goes down. I mean, not the type 1, but the other forms of obesity related diabetes and food habit related diabetes, who are just now, especially Asians now are, everybody like, in the population are like, are getting diabetes, and the argument they come up with is, we have been eating rice for centuries. What are you talking about starch? But the problem is it's not the rice, but the number of times people are eating food, because of the prosperity now, everybody just keeps eating all day long.
Eat too much.
Yeah.
Sounds like a problem I have on a daily basis as well. Eat too much, don't exercise enough.
Yeah.
So, someone else that we talk to on a regular basis, Martin Tan, out of Christchurch ED, saw him saying earlier for a glass of wine at the end of the day, red wine, good for the heart type stuff. So we were just chasing up kind of where he's at in terms of his project that Ben and Mary are working on. So they're working on point of care testing in emergency departments with the troponin T tests that take 7 minutes or 8 minutes, Mary, instead of having to go to the lab. So potentially a really good outcome for patients where the process takes 8 minutes instead of 2 to 4 hours waiting in the emergency department to go home. So that's good. I was
sorry. What kind of tests were those?
Troponin T.
Heart attack.
So heart attack.
Oh right.
Chest pain,
so it's I won't go into the detail, but it tells you if you're actually having a heart attack or the chest pain's something else.
Indigestion, for example. Yeah.
No, you just give them a pink lady for that. Well, no, what's that? That's my Lanta and some sort of
Pepto-Bismol stuff. Yeah,
I can't remember. Pink stuff.
Horrible stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but they don't know. They don't know, Sally. That's the thing. Turn up.
I know.
I've got chest pain. Really? Just eaten a giant meal. Yes. Oh, okay.
But now your watch. Wouldn't it be good if we could get the watches to actually find ST elevation?
Yeah. 100%. Currently, my watch currently says it doesn't do that at all.
No, it doesn't. It only finds
AS,
VT, VT and AF. But has anyone tried the Aura ring? That's something I was looking at yesterday.
Diana Sue has one. She's shown me before.
Oh, I wanted to play with it. We were talking about it yesterday, and so I went and looked it up, and now I want one, but you can't get them in New Zealand.
Where did Diana get hers from, Mary? Do you know?
I assume in her travels at some point.
AliExpress.
No.
Well, I think they were saying that it's better. It provides better real-time data than a lot of the other things.
Yeah, they're quite solid.
Yeah, I saw one yesterday.
Does it look like a does it look like a digital thing, Mary?
No.
Yeah, it looks like a chunky ring. If you
weird.
look in the it doesn't look like fashion, but you can see the sensor inside it. But yeah.
How long does the charge last? Did she say?
The version 3 and the person who had it yesterday said lasted 3 to 4 days, but the older version used to last a week.
And what does that do? What does it take obs down, patient obs, or?
It does, but it's
blood oxygen, breathing patterns, heart rate.
It's basically obs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did just read something today that it can help predict pregnancy within the first 7 to 12 days or something, due to the raising of
basal temperature. Yeah, basal.
What the nurses what the nurse I was talking to who had one was saying was that the prediction is better, and the advice that the app gives you that goes with it is actually better, because instead of telling you you're not exercising enough when you're sick, it'll tell you stop exercising, you're sick, based on what we've detected.
That's quite good. Yeah.
So yeah, actually, it was quite interesting.
So something we're looking at, because I met them at the start of the year, which is quite connected to this, is I was talking to Jenny Pooley at Counties Manukau. They're busy testing the Bio and Telesense Bio button. So it's like a sticker, same sort of thing, sticker that you wear, and it passively monitors, a bunch of physiological parameters. And there's a company out of,
you bet me, Mary.
Earlier, company out of Israel
Sheedy.
called Binar, and they use a video camera to do similar stuff. So basically remote photo plethysmography. So look like we'll progress that and work with the guys at Counties Manukau to put out a kind of a proof of concept that allows patients, remote photo plethysmography. So basically the color in your face.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but then I didn't.
Yeah. So like your Apple Watch looks at your, the change of color of your skin on your.
So it'd be if someone had carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that, and the SATs were saying 100.
Oh, no, because it's not so much looking at the color, not the human color, but
okay.
Specifically close to infrared, I think.
Okay.
And so it can see, like apparently it measures heart rate, blood pressure, SpO2, heart rate variability, and some other stuff. By looking at video, but it takes say 2 minutes of video to do that. So we're going to look at testing it. They're going through the FDA Class 2 device approval process at the moment. So they've done all of their data collection and they're just about to submit to the FDA. So we'll do a bit of a trial. Jenny Pooley's quite keen because they're giving out phones. So they're busy trying to do home monitoring for COVID. So send someone home, put one of these buttons on them, and the buttons have Bluetooth, so they still need to be connected to the internet. So they have to give a bunch of people phones. And I was like, well, if you're giving people phones, that phone will have a camera, and we could do this thing at the same time. Key difference being, obviously, this is an active process, so you have to log into the app, start the camera on your face, and hold it in front of your face for a couple of minutes. But it's quite a useful tool if we can make it work. It all runs locally on the device. You don't send the video to Israel, so that's good. But you pay like $1 a go or something like that. So rather than having to buy like an SpO2 monitor that we never get back for $150 or whatever it is, basically you kind of use it every time you use it.
Actually, that's how we got onto the Aura Ring discussion yesterday. Because
right.
they were cheaper than watches.
Yeah.
And I think they're about $400.
Well,
$300.
It's often the screen that kind of costs lots of money in those devices, eh? And the screen uses lots of power as well. So
yeah.
US.
Yeah, but it was about the fact that they weren't getting the SPO2 devices back, that there were so many variables that people could muck up.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the interesting thing, Sean, about the paper problem. And I was talking to the guys in Christchurch about this. So they that reminds me what the last conversation with Kevin was. They're trying to do like a ED vitals process. So they do a bit of patient simulation. They've kind of noticed when they do patient simulation, the bioengineers with the ED people, that they've got the big A2, which has all of the, you'll know this, Sally, with all of the like the SPO2 over time that the nurse marks on it, all of that stuff. They're like, oh, could we make that digital? Was their question, and I was like, oh, it's an interesting question, and I don't know.
It wouldn't be hard because the monitors already record it all.
Yeah, well, no, but not. Obviously, they don't record everything.
Oh, they don't record pain and things like that, but they'd give you the trends in time over anything they can monitor, and most of them will have temperature and all sorts in them.
Yeah, totally. So we were trying to figure out of the things that they couldn't put into that weren't coming through the monitors, like how would you capture that information? Because they talked about
audio because we'd call them out. We'd call them out when we wrote
video.
Down.
Talked about video, and we talked about recording the audio, and for two reasons. First one, to your reason, but the second reason is if you've recorded the audio or the video, you can always go back and, as the algorithms get better, rerun it later. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this year's data gets better next year because the algorithm that extracts the data from the video is better. So
some of the simulation stuff already does audio recording, but I don't know if they actually put it to anything. Like the sim pads that we have with our mannequins, they already record audio, and they already let you use them as a speaker, so you can be the person on the other end of the phone. So it wouldn't be that hard to actually, but it's proprietary. That's the problem to LIDAR.
So because you could just record the audio in the room in order to start capturing some of these and kind of spike the audio with like keywords like record record The other suggestion I gave him was one that came out of the NHS where Richard Corbridge was over here, I think in 2019, Mary, where he was over for the HINS conference in Wellington.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Was it 2019 or 2018? Anyway, he was over for the 2018. He was over for the HINS conference. He used to be the CIO at Leeds Hospital in the NHS, and he said they were using barcodes to trigger the recording. So an example was like, so if you had a scanner that you could do, like you could scan a barcode, you'd have a barcode which gave a unit of red blood cells. So they scan that, and that then goes on the record as someone gave a unit of red blood cells.
But then that's just another place that error could happen.
Well, it's this trade-off between writing it down, capture, and do you know what I mean? Like, how do you triangulate the capture?
I get it. Yeah. And the cognitive load associated with both. Yeah.
And so I said to them, you could look at just making a big chart which is on the wall with like, a unit of red blood cells or SPO2, and so you scan the QR code and then you type in the SPO2 somehow, I don't know, like, but the barcode kind of gives you the context for the recording every time you do it, because that's how they were using it in Leeds. So they were using it in their renal department in order to get the data off their machines, which weren't digital machines. They'd scan the barcode which was associated with a measure, scan the patient barcode, scan the barcode that was associated with the measure, and then just type the couple of data points in, which they decided was faster to get data entry than it was faster to do that for data entry than it was to try and tell the machine what you were measuring. So you'd have to choose a drop down box, which was, are you measuring heart rate or SpO2 or whatever? So the barcode would give you all of that. And he said they were doing 1.5 million, if my brain remembers rightly, something like 1.5 million measures like that every day in their hospital. I was like, holy cow. Because it becomes a habit, Sally. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, it's, you know,
Because
as
I
long
mean,
as it's
I was
faster,
there
you know what I
was
mean?
there 8 years, and the process didn't change in that time in
Mm.
ED, other than somebody invented a spreadsheet that would actually do all the drug calculations for us. But
I love that.
yeah.
You worry about scanning a barcode, and you're telling me you were using a spreadsheet for drug
Oh, it was an
calculations.
emergency doc made it. And
That
actually, to be quite honest, I designed my weight estimation app to do that as well.
Yeah. So we've pretty much taken over the algorithm hub now, which is good news. So as there's more of those calculators, people can be directed to go to the algorithm hub to use that for that sort of stuff. So
there is a paediatric one. They use it up and down the country now, and I've forgotten. They've actually, it's basically just a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So antibiotic prescribing 100% is kind of often weight driven.
But then everything for kids is mostly off label anyway. So what's the point? Oops, I didn't say that. This was my whole PhD about ED and kids and stuff.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So yeah, so it was a fun trip to Christchurch. The weather was terrible here in Wellington when I was trying to leave. So that was good fun. Got absolutely soaked just getting on the bloody airplane to go to Christchurch. Get off the plane in Christchurch and it's a sunny day and you're like, real cold, but a lovely sunny day. And I was like, oh, that was quite different. Didn't seem that far away. Almost like where Mary is right now, eh, Mary?
I know. I wish this is Vietnam.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Raro.
Yeah, it looks like the Pacific Islands.
Can I ask you Wellingtonians a question? When I come down and stay, I need to find somewhere in the CBD with grass, nearby for the dog.
Waitangi.
Where's that?
So there's apartments out on the Schaefer's Marina. Yeah. What's that called now, Mary?
Yeah,
there's apartments out there, and you can come
so
onto the Waitangi.
No, I mean for HINs and digital health and all that.
Yeah, look for Waitangi Park.
Okay.
On the map, and then anywhere around there, there's a nice green area.
Museum, hotel,
or Frank.
Like that. That'll be real expensive, though, won't it?
Frank Kitts Park is the other one.
Oh, I did look around that one.
Because that's right by where HINs will be.
Yeah, but it's the hotels you have to cross like humongous main roads.
That is true.
Anyway, if you think of anything, can you flick me an email?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a HINs going to be held in Wellington this year?
Oh no, it's Digital Health Leadership Summit, isn't it?
Yeah.
HINs is in Rotorua.
There's a leadership summit on the 5th and 6th of September for HIN for digital health stuff, and then you're right, Sally's it's in Rotorua.
Okay.
Early.
I know where all the grass is there.
Yeah. So we're doing we're going to do a session on home monitoring in that.
Sweet.
Robin Whitaker and I are going to have a table at on the 5th and 6th of
September. I'll come play.
And people telling us about how we can do more innovation in the health system. So, what do you suggest? Type stuff. And are you doing innovation? What are you doing? So we could add that to our list of things that we know people are working on. So I don't know if that's something on your agenda at all, Sujan, is the HINs conference. You're coming? The one in Rotorua or the one in Wellington?
Wellington.
Oh, very good.
Oh, cool.
Excellent. Be good to see you.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah. And then the one in Rotorua is normally up to about 1,500 people or something. It's absolutely massive.
I think the last one was 2,000. Yeah. But then but I don't know if that was in Rotorua. I can't remember where the last one was.
Hamilton.
That's right. Oh God, yes. But
it's,
I do remember.
I think it's the biggest healthcare conference in the country.
It is. But they were well over 2,000 last time because I was doing some of the reviewing for stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Actually, you've just reminded me I've got some to do. Damn, I forgot about them. I was having a nice day until I remembered about them.
Yeah. Another job for the list. Very good.
You should see the bottom of my computer screen.
Sorry, John, did you mention that you're doing or you're having something on home monitoring on the 5th and 6th, is it?
No. This is so in December we're gonna have like a stream on home monitoring of people kind of presenting on what they're doing. And on the 5th and 6th, Robin Whitaker and I are going to have a table at the thing, and we're going to be talking about innovation.
September.
So September 1 in Wellington. Yeah.
So
that's the leadership summit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is on home monitoring. Sorry, I've got an interest in that home monitoring thing.
So that's in December.
Someone wants to say hi.
Oh, there he is. She.
Cute.
So sorry, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
Sorry, Sean. We've got a. So we're going to do like a stream, like a whole lot of presentations in the one room in December. But we've actually got a group already. So if you wanted to join the group, we meet once a month, and we've got a shared team site for having kind of work and conversations about it. So if it's more than an interest, if you want to do some stuff, feel free to join in.
Yeah, no, I'm very keen on doing something, because that's one of the things that I'm trying to work with the service to, I guess, do what we can to digitize the home monitoring.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool.
I think that's the way to go.
Yep. 100%. So I'll send you the invite for the next meeting, and feel free to come along. And I assume your email address Sean.Chch at Auckland.
No dot, just schew@adhb.gov.nz.
Sorry, you're gonna have to say.
Oh, sorry. There's no dot. It's just schew.
Oh, so S for Sean and then Chew.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
Right.
that's right.
Excellent. Very good. I'll forward you on the invite to the next
Thank you.
to the next meeting then, and you can come along and we can go from there.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
John, I was also wondering that is there any think tanks that are forming or that already exist around data governance and Maori data sovereignty and so on and so forth?
There is indeed. There is indeed. So there was a meeting that got cancelled today because Peter that works with us is away, and he would normally have one the hour before this meeting. So
okay.
Do you want me to forward you
Yes,
on that meeting?
Yes, please.
Not a problem.
Because I mean, I'm thinking mostly from the perspective of genomics, but then genomics will translate into health data at some time and some stage, and then everything. Now genomics becomes, Maori data sovereignty and, the data security itself and so on and so forth, associated aspects around it.
Yeah.
I just want to be involved in some of those conversations as well. And I think at some stage we will have interest in the stakeholders and get engaged with them.
Yeah, cool. So yep. Peter's your man. I'll make sure I send that on to you. I won't send you the cancelled one. I'll send you the one that's probably in another couple of weeks. So I'll do that, and then I'll send you, Sean, the invite for the home monitoring thing. The last thing I was going to mention is something that, what was I going to mention? Was it last week that I did this? I'm trying to find when I did it. I've lost it now. Oh, I know what it was. So we've been talking about break glass. So you mentioned kind of data governance stuff. And it's interesting, and Sally, you might know a bit more about this, but we're doing the maternity spine. So some of the hospitals in the country have a maternity system, and then a bunch of the community midwives run their own computer systems, and they don't talk to each other at the moment. So we're building an interface between the hospital system and the community systems. And we've kind of hit on this break glass kind of question where, let's say, a woman is pregnant, doesn't know, turns up at the emergency department, they do a pregnancy test because sometimes they do, and turns out she's pregnant. They register the pregnancy in the hospital system, and then they tell her, hey, you should go and get a midwife. So she goes off to get a midwife. In the situation where those two things are integrated, we need to be able to describe the fact that the midwife's picking up the care of that woman because her pregnancy is already going to be known about. And so there's this question about, is that break glass? And interestingly enough, as we've kind of looked into it, turns out the HIG, which is the Health Information Governance Guidelines, aren't very clear when it comes to this. So the system itself, the vendor of the system, who it's Badgernet, which is CleverMed out of the UK, out of the NHS, basically call anybody accessing the system that isn't already kind of the lead carer as breaking glass. And we're like, well, it's not really breaking glass if you're either taking over the care permanently or you're kind of delivering care which is expected. So we're trying to work through at the moment. We think there's probably 3 categories. So we're trying to work through and put together a better standard, which is there's break glass. Like there's an emergency, you can't ask the person, and you need a break glass and access the record. That seems straightforward. But apparently 90% of women end up in there's 90% of women have some sort of interface between the hospital and the community midwife. And at this point, we would have been classing almost all of those cross interactions as breaking glass, and they're not at the point that it happens for 90% of women. So we need a new category of, it's not break glass, but it's not just normal. It's not normal care either, because it's going between two groups. So we think it's it's routine transfer of care or routine pickup of care. Sally, you muted yourself.
Oh yeah, that dog was making noise. If they're in ED though.
Yeah. So agree that ED.
No,
the ED
does it
bit
claim?
Is probably break glass. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. Isn't the ED bit the place where it's not?
Routine.
So not routine. So shouldn't that be where there's the break glass and not the others?
So
that's just my head.
I think you're right around the ED thing. Just the point is, the only option we've currently got is to break glass for all
exactly.
situations. And so if you kind of walk down the road of at some point people are going to have the ability to query who's looked at their records and why they've been looking at their records, they might end up seeing a whole lot of break glass stuff, which might seem quite alarming if you're in a situation where you're looking at your records and it's either your GP and anybody, your GP is listed as routine care and everybody else is listed as break glass. Like it kind of as a consumer, you'd be quite worried with that.
Could you not tie it into where they are at the time, like the location of the person?
Yep. So all of that should come into it. So I think there's kind of like there's a patient driven kind of thing. There's then a care associated kind of thing, which is the one in which is you have to do some care, routine care, like maybe the midwife goes away, your midwife goes away on leave and they leave you with another midwife and you have to have your appointment while your normal midwife's off on leave. That's not break glass, that's actually normal care or routine care. So we should have a code for that as to why they're accessing the record. That isn't break glass.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So
I do.
We kind of think that turns out the HIG doesn't talk about this at all. So that's the Health Information Governance Guidelines. And we've never thought this through really at all as a health system. And it appears that our vendor has never really thought this through either. Just everything was always called break glass, and now we call everything that isn't routine.
But it's interesting we've had it come back lately. Oh, one of your students has looked up their own record and we've had to deal with that. So it is happening out there and it is being picked up really well.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, surely anything before they actually register with their lead maternity carer doesn't count as maternity.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I was trying to create a scenario whereby I could describe.
No, it makes sense. I'm just now I want to solve it and I don't know how.
Yeah. So it's real funny because we basically started this project thinking, we've got these systems out in the community, these midwife systems out in the community, we've got this hospital system, we should make them talk together. That'd be really handy. Everyone would be really, really happy about that.
Plunkett too has got their own.
And so we've gone off and get the computer systems built, and then we're kind of going, how's this actually going to work? Because we've got another problem in it, which is that that one where, and you might see this, Sean, in the hospital, but where one person creates a record, like this person definitely has heart failure, and then someone else comes along and they maybe in the hospital notes, they then write, this person definitely does not have heart failure. And then the next person comes back again and like, this person definitely has heart failure. And like, as a third party, like looking at it going, these people obviously disagree. I'm just seeing like with our computer system, because it'll overwrite, and apparently Gravit is a big problem, it'll overwrite what the last person said and just trusts what it's told. You could see these loops, these competitive loops.
Can you not prioritize people?
Who would you prioritize, Sally? Would
exactly,
you prioritize
that's my
the
point.
obstetrician or the lead maternity carer?
Sorry,
exactly. And I just thought about that at the same time.
So I just got to say, I have to run. I've got another meeting that I'm now late for, but it's been very interesting, and thank you for having me.
No problem. Feel free to come back next time if you want to talk about some more stuff, and I'll send you on that invite.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
We probably need to wind it up now as well, guys. So
now I want to solve your problem.
I know you do. I know you do. So we've got some ideas on how to solve it, Sally. If you have any further ideas, any inspiration in the shower or anything like that, feel free to just throw it through in an email, and we'll put it.
I probably won't. You've probably thought of them all, but hey, it's.
I wish I had. I wish I had
something I could. Oh, I hate it when something I can't solve.
Indeed. Okay then. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll talk again in a couple of weeks.